am the Masked Trans, and you are watching me, baby. Now, before we get today's video started, I just want to give a quick what's up to my peeps and a diabolical middle finger to the creeps. You know who you are. All right, people. It is probably my third video on this topic, and it's just amazing to me how divisive and how triggering this conversation can be for so many people, regardless as to which side of the spectrum you fall on. So before I say what I have to say, I want to give a shout out to Megan for your comment. Thank you so much for your comment, Megan. I really appreciate it. And also to Mary Williams. Thank you to Mary. Mary Williams is awesome. So Mary, I just want to say thank you. If you get to see this video, I appreciate you and your support. So thank you for that. So Megan left a comment on my video, the We video, where I talk about what happened with the trans person. I'm going to start saying trans person at this point, right? Only because I haven't seen or heard or like, who is this person? You know, so we're going to say this trans person. So Megan left a comment that I found very interesting, and I think I kind of hinted at this or alluded to this in my video where I mentioned that the dots weren't connecting. It didn't completely make sense to me, right? So before I tell you what Megan said, let me give you guys a little bit of this is going to be like a micro story time. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me. So many moons ago, well, not that many, but a few moons ago, there was this little tiny being called the Masked Trans. And so when I was in 9th grade, and this is pre-transition, excuse me, this is pre-transition, when I was in the 9th grade, I remember physical education, right? And because at that point in 9th grade, I didn't really have the verbiage, I didn't really have the language to articulate what I was feeling and who I was, but I knew very early on, way before the 9th grade, that I was different, so to speak. And when you get to high school and you have to take electives, one of my electives was physical education, phys ed, or gym, PE. And the reason I loved phys ed so much is because I love playing volleyball. But what I did not anticipate was having to take swimming and having to go into the boys' locker room. Talk about trauma. And it's really interesting to me because this is a memory that I had really pushed away so far back in the recesses of my consciousness that it took this incident at the Wii Spa to really sort of conjure up this memory for me. So I was in the 9th grade, and part of physical education was there was a segment where we had to do swimming. And I was okay with swimming, but girls were allowed to swim in bathing suits, and boys had to wear essentially trunks and no shirt. Now, I already knew at this age that I was not comfortable with taking my shirt off in front of boys. It just wasn't going to happen. I don't give a damn what you see, what you perceive me to be. I'm not taking my shirt off in front of those boys. It's just not going to happen. So we went back and forth to the point that my mother had to be called up to the school because I refused to swim without a shirt on. And my mother basically said, look, if my child doesn't want to take off their shirt, they don't have to. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. So I would swim in my shirt. Now this is where it gets really interesting. In order to prepare yourself to go to swim, you had to go into the locker room to change into your swimming attire. So in the locker room was a bunch of boys. Now I know you probably think, oh my God, this is heaven for you. You know, you like boys, you love boys, you get to be around boys. It's not, it's traumatizing, right? Because I'm in a room where I feel like I do not belong, where I feel like I don't want to be. In spite of the fact that I like boys, it was just a very uncomfortable environment for me. So what I would do, and I certainly wasn't if you think if I'm not going to take off my top, I'm definitely not taking off my bottom in front of a bunch of boys. That is not happening. So what I would do, before I left home in the morning, I would put on my swim trunks. This is me putting on my trunks. And I would put on my t-shirt. And when time came to swim, I would have I would take my clothes off. And I would already have my swimming attire on underneath my clothes, so I didn't have to change in front of anyone. I would go out there, I would swim. And when the swimming was over, I would put my dry clothes right back on top of my wet clothes. I know it's crazy and I know it's extreme, but, and I would walk around school probably for about 3 or 4 hours looking like I peed on myself because I refused to change clothes in the locker room. It just made me uncomfortable. I did not belong there. And the reason I'm telling this story is because the comment that Megan left on my page, she talks about this whole thing with the We Spa potentially being a hoax. And I'm not really a person who buys into conspiracy theories, what have you, but something in the milk ain't clean. Something about this story, the dots are not connecting with me, right? It's gaslighting. It just doesn't make sense, and I'll tell you why. With one caveat. With one caveat. The only way I can see this making sense, right? Because when you look at the We Spa, this is not a hole in the wall. This is a nice spa, right? And so anyone going there typically is going to be a person of privilege. So this trans person who is at this spa is clearly a person of privilege, you know, if they're able to afford the services of the We Spa. So, I'm gonna get in trouble, y'all. I'm gonna listen, trans community, I love you guys, but I gotta take off the gloves and just be honest here. We're just gonna have an honest conversation. I do not intend to offend anyone, but I'm just gonna be completely candid. Sometimes in the trans community, we have what I call late bloomers. Late bloomers. And these are people who have spent their whole life trying to assimilate, right? They've gotten married, they've had children, they've had careers, they've been in the military, you know, and all of a sudden at 65, they decide, now is the time, I'm ready to make the change. Oh, I feel bad for saying this. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed of myself because you have a right to transition whenever it feels comfortable for you. But you also have to know that the later you transition, the more aesthetically you may have to overcome. You know, there's been a lot of testosterone running through your system for many years, and you are going to have to combat that and try to reverse that, and that can take a lot of work, time, and effort, right? And I say all that to say that maybe the person who was at the We Spa was someone who was very early on in their transition, one of these late bloomers who has not reached the point of being passable, you know, because passable privilege is a thing. They haven't reached the point of being passable, so to speak, or at least the point of being non-threatening, right? Oh, that sounds terrible. I feel so bad, but look, we gotta be able to have real conversations here. And I just want to preface this by saying, look, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but in order to have a real conversation, we have to be able to have conversations about things that might be a little uncomfortable. And the reality is, if you are 6'4", muscular, 5 o'clock shadow, but you've had breast implants and you've just begun hormone therapy, that is going to be jarring. I'm not trying to deny your existence. I'm not trying to deny your right to be who you are. I'm just simply saying that when you walk out into society, for a lot of people, that is going to be jarring. Read me if y'all have to, but those are the facts. And so if you have a person who is very early on in their transition, a person of privilege who doesn't realize that, you know, maybe they should be more considerate in terms of how they move because they've lived a life of privilege, I feel like that could be the perfect storm of entitlement that will lead someone to walking around willy-nilly at the We Spa with reckless abandon. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And again, I am not trying to be offensive, but I'm really just trying to make sense of the nonsensical because this makes absolutely no sense to me. So, oh my God, I hate myself for saying what I just said. But it is what it is. So Megan's comment, to get back to my original point, Megan's comment is essentially saying that this may have been orchestrated to some degree, or, you know, an orchestration in order to sort of further this anti-trans propaganda. And while it seems very extreme, I could see something like that happening actually. And again, this isn't making sense to me because where is this trans person? Why haven't we heard from them? How come when all of this hubbub was happening in the lobby, you know, sis had cleared the room. Sis cleared the room. Everybody left about the spa. But sis said, thanks. That's how you clear a room. For you hoes that don't know how to clear a room, that's how you clear a room. So sis had cleared the room, but didn't come out into the lobby and have a conversation, didn't say anything. We don't know anything about this person. So where did they go? Where are they? What's their side of the story? Everything that we hear at this point is suppositions and speculation. We really don't have that person's account of what happened. We just see an irate woman with a camera who is pretty much using the most colorful language to express herself. But where's the person? Where, you know, I need that piece of the puzzle to be completed for me, because it hasn't been. So, like I was saying earlier, to be trans, for me, and this is my trans experience, and my experience is not indicative of everyone. Everyone has their own, you know, it's a spectrum, right? It is not a monolith. You're going to have people who are all over the spectrum. But for me, I didn't want to see anything that was below the waist. And I damn sure didn't want people outside of me seeing what was below the waist. You know, so I just can't fathom how or why a person who I identify as trans would just say to hell with it and not have, you know, any regard, because to be trans is to be wholly aware of your body. That is the nature of being transgender. It is all about the physical and the emotional and the spiritual to some degree. But yes, so for you to not have awareness of your body and other people's interpretation or other people's perception of your body just seems out of alignment. All right, you guys, so that's pretty much all I have to say on this topic. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, whether or not you believe that this was an actual occurrence or whether this was some sort of orchestration that was created as anti-trans propaganda. Please comment below, because I'm curious. You know, I need more information about this story. And if you know more information, please comment below. Share it with me. I'm really hungry for more information about this. So let me get out of here, you guys. This mask is getting hot. As always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'll see you guys again in my next video. And also ask yourself, why be bitter when you can be better? I'm the Masked Trans, and I'll talk to you guys again in my next video. Bye.